And tonight's guest is Steve Olsher, America's reinvention expert. His methodology blends ancient wisdom with the revolutionary lessons from modern thought leaders. Now, let's not waste any time from learning about Journey to You, a step-by-step guide to becoming who you were born to be from the expert. Please join me to welcome the Steve Olsher, the author of Journey to You. Hi, Steve. Welcome.
Hey, Jen. How are you? Thanks so much for having me on.
Hey, I'm glad you can be on, and it's an honor. And I am so excited to learn about Journey to You and a step-by-step guide to become who I was born to be. But before
we already know
about
that answer.
Huh? Well, what's that?
Yeah, no, I think we already know that answer.
Oh, really? But before we really delve into that, well, I would like to you to share about your childhood a little bit and your childhood dream. It's kind of a routine for us, so maybe about 2 minutes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's typical American family. Parents divorced when I was pretty young, and spent a lot of time with my mom before she remarried. And just pretty basic. I mean, there's not like, some people have these traumatic stories that they can throw around as far as their childhood is concerned. For me, it's pretty simple. I mean, it was just a regular middle-class family in the heartland there in Chicago. And I grew up just north of Chicago and went to school on one of the suburbs. And got into music really early, played drums for a lot of years, and got into DJing and always had the entrepreneurial bug. So I just pretty much as soon as I could pick up a rake and try to move some leaves around, I was always trying to make some money. So,
and did you ever thought about, your dream was becoming the reinvention expert or something? No?
Yeah, that's I probably would have been slapped around if that's what I was saying to people. So
I know.
It's as a kid, I got to tell you, some people remember a whole bunch from their childhood. I've got a few memories, but not much. But I can't put my finger on anything in particular that I wanted to be when I grew up. So it's kind of I don't know if that's a statement about my family or my upbringing or what, but it was just kind of one of those things where for me it was just always day to day, Just go on and try to do
very
something
common to many people.
Get something fun out of the day.
And but now since we don't have that much time, in total maybe about 20-some minutes, so let's get into that questions about this the Journey to You, okay? And to propel your life forward and become clear on where you are at and where you are going, you offer 7 life-altering tips. What are they?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's it depends on how much time we have. Like you said, we've got a limited amount of time, so I'll just touch on briefly what those 7 tips are and what I found. And these tips are really based on what I found in working with the successful. And so for years I've studied those that other people might say are living the dream and just what they're doing and how they do it. And what I found is that there really are 7 things that the successful do and know how to do differently and more efficiently, if you will, than others. So number 1 is they're really clear on who they are and what they do in terms of just having great sense of self-awareness. So a lot of people just kind of meander through life and don't really have an understanding of who they are and what their limitations are and really where they're wired to excel. And the successful really have a very clear understanding of what they do very well, focus on that, and they also understand what they don't do so well and where they're wired to really just, lag. And so they delegate or they eliminate those areas of their life that just doesn't serve them well. So first tip is just to have a really strong sense of self-awareness. And the follow-up to that is number 2, which is the successful really have identified what I call their what. And your what is the one thing that your soul is compelled to do. So the question is, what is your what? What is the one thing that differentiates you from so many others here on this planet, and really is your unique gift? I mean, what you would do if no one paid you a cent to do it. I mean, it just comes most naturally to you. It's inherent to who you are. So the successful really do have a clear understanding of what their what is, and really don't let anything else get in their way. So number 3, it then takes me into the follow-up to that, which is the successful set really deep anchors into their soul. And when I say deep anchors into the soul, what I mean is they operate like smooth rocks and not like craters. In other words, people typically, when they're unclear on who they are and why they're here and what their purpose is, they just kind of bounce from place to place and they don't really get anywhere. The successful really have these deep anchors set into their soul so that they're very clear on why they're here, and they don't let anyone else or anything else push them off path. And so the idea is if you're a smooth rock and you operate, pretty much just like, well, it's the old expression like water off a duck's back. And the idea is that the successful move through life and just don't get caught up in the waterfall of everything that happens. And so something happens and it just continues to move past them, much like water would continue to flow downstream. Others really operate like craters. And so when things happen, life just kind of pools and they hold on to it, and it becomes just their consistent way of being. It's all their thinking. It's how they go about their day. I mean, it just consumes them. And then as the waterfall of life comes by and washes that one out, it replaces it with something else, and they become just really consumed by whatever life's next challenge is. The successful really have those deep anchors set into their soul and operate like smooth rocks and not like craters.
Wow.
So, so number 4, if you want to keep going here.
Yeah, but time is going so fast, though. So if we can make it just a list of the,
Yeah. Yeah, so number 4 is they have a very clear understanding of what I call your circle of 4. And your circle of 4 are those 4 people that you consider yourself closest to. I mean, it can be a mentor, it can be a friend, it can be a family member, but it's, a spiritual leader, whoever it might be. But it's someone that you have access to. And you really, I mean, no matter how you slice it, your life is the summation of those 4 people. So if you've got 2 people in your circle of 4 that are just barely scraping by, and you got 2 people that are just, working off minimum wage and just aren't really getting anywhere, and the odds are really good you're thinking about where your next meal is coming from. So the successful are really cognizant of who comprises their circle of 4, and they always are trying to push themselves towards those that support them becoming, really who they were born to be, and encourage them to, to pursue that with reckless abandon.
So do you have your circle of 4?
I do.
Okay,
I do.
Great.
Yeah.
I would ask you who they are, but we've got only 2 minutes before the break.
Yeah, no problem. And, don't get hung up on the 4 thing. I mean, it can be a triangle to 3. It can be a straight line to 2. It can be a hexagon to 5. It doesn't matter. But, the bottom line is you've got to be really cognizant of who you surround yourself with, because, it's easy to surround yourself with familiar faces, but if they're holding you back, I mean, sometimes you got to cut the rope.
Yeah, I agree.
And I know you're saying we got about a minute here before break, so I'll just list the last 2. And the last 2 is legacy. The successful are really concerned with what their legacy is going to be. And they want to make sure that, everything that they do falls in line with creating that desired legacy. And then the last thing that the successful do so much better than anyone else is they really live not just for themselves, but they live for others. And they understand that when they give something away, it comes back to them 100-fold. So they're very free. They're very giving with their information, with their talent, with their resources. with their knowledge. And they have no expectations, but I tell you, it comes back 100-fold.
Yeah. And besides that, when you are at the position where you can give, and when you give, that's the time you get the most, happiness and joy. I mean, that's what I found in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, I mean, it doesn't mean give in terms of monetary, resources or anything of that nature. I mean, you can look at like Mother Teresa. I mean, she certainly never had any sort of she was not well-to-do, but she was able to give of herself in a way that was extremely meaningful to the world.
Yeah, I'm too lazy to become like Mother Teresa. I'd rather become the Oprah Winfrey,
Yeah, well, we all have our goals and our destinations, and trying to be like Oprah certainly isn't a bad place to start.
No, yeah, and but we've got only 1 minute to go, and when we come back, I want to talk about what people can do to make sure that their 2011 won't stink just as bad as 2010. And you believe there's only one thing standing between someone getting the job they want and living the life they dream of, and what that is. And so there are a bunch of questions I would like to ask. And unless do you want to think of something really you feel so pressured or you feel so strong about sharing? So let me know during the break. So we will talk about that. Welcome back. You're listening to Jin Robertson at American Dreams. The sky is the limit. For those who are just joining us, we are sharing the wisdom of Steve Olsher, the founder and facilitator of the Reinvention Workshop and the host of Reinvention Radio, as heard on 11 a.m. KFNX in Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome back, Steve.
Thank you, Jin.
Yeah, time goes so fast, and now, we have just about same amount of time as the second segment, but there are tons of questions, I would like to ask. But first of all, I want to know that, you said that 2010 was about as bad as it could get for so many, and so how does our audience ensure that 2011 won't stink just as bad?
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, it's for a lot of people, it was, as you said, I mean, it was just about as bad as it gets. I mean, with job satisfaction being at an all-time low and unemployment being, at record highs, and I mean, it became very, very clear in throughout this whole recession here that the only one that you can really count on in your life is you, and the days of working for the same company and lifetime employment, those days are over. It just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And so what I encourage people to do, when you're looking at 2011 is most importantly, you got to have a solid plan of action in terms of what you're going to do differently this year and how you're going to look at 2011 in a way that you're not going to be at the same mercy of the economic downturns and side bends and upturns and whatnot. You really got to take some of that out of the equation. But the only way you can do that is to figure out how to become self-reliant. And for a lot of people, that's just something that never really seems possible. But I highly encourage people to rethink how they envision what they can do with their lives, because there's certainly an opportunity for people to take chance out of the equation and really create something that's meaningful, that has an inordinate impact not only on their life, of course, but on the lives of so many others.
Yeah.
But a huge part of that is absolutely becoming clear on, as we talked about in the first segment, what's your what is? What are you really compelled to do? Because there was a recent study that showed that 87% of all people who are employed right now just would leave their job in a heartbeat for something that they found more fulfilling.
Yeah.
And so, that's a staggering figure. And so, literally, that means that 13 out of every 100 people actually enjoy what they do. And, of course, conversely, 87 out of every 100 people, really would leave if they had a chance to jump ship.
Yeah.
So it's frightening. But 2011 certainly holds a significant amount of promise. But the first step is having that goal, that plan of action, and figuring out how to get into that transition from where you are now to really where it is that you desire to be.
Yeah. And but I think in a way, that even what about that what is it, your what is, but sometimes when you are, a lot of family are depending on you, and it's hard to just quit what you are doing and, to run away from the security and go after for that what, really. And it takes a lot of courage, really. And
yeah. I mean, look, it takes huge courage. It takes huge determination. But reality for me says that when you've got people who tell you to, just do what you love and the money will follow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just such crap. I mean, that's not how the world works. So what I ask people to do is to think about, how can you let someone else fund your transition? Literally, as you make it from where you are to where you want to go. And the idea is you don't quit your day job. I mean, you have to keep that day job, but figure out how to leverage the number of hours that are in that day, because there's a lot of time that you have available to yourself that you can invest in what it is that you really want to do. And I liken it to a recipe mixture. I mean, right now, 100 parts of your life is comprised of what it is that you don't want to do, and 0 parts is what you do. But as soon as you identify what it is that you want to do and you make that first step, that recipe mixture shifts. So now it's 1 part what you do, what you really want to do, and 99 parts what you don't. And the idea is, as you get closer to, what you need in terms of your income being derived from what it is that you really want to do, that recipe mixture continues to shift to the point where you can actually make that jump. And so for some people, it's 60-40. For other people, it's 100-0. And, look, if it's something that takes a long time to do, you may be in that state of transition for years, like becoming a brain surgeon. I mean, that's a 16-year process.
Yeah.
But, if you want to go out and help those in need, you can start doing that tomorrow.
Yeah. That's right. But we've got only, about 5 minutes left already. And so I want to talk about your book, Journey to You. And it was honored by USA Book News as the Best Self-Help Book 2010. What prompted you to write that book, and why do you think the book has been so well received?
Well, just given the limited amount of time here, let's jump to the second half of that question, because the story of why I wrote the book is in there, and obviously I would love it if people were to pick it up. As a matter of fact, Jim, what I'd love to be able to offer your audience is if they send me an email to Steve at steveolsher.com. That's SteveOlsher, Steve at steveolsher.com. The first 5 who send me an email, I'll send them a copy of the book.
Okay.
So just happy to put that out there. But so the second question is, why do you think it's been so well received? And to me, the answer is because people are looking for just a really sensible, no-holds-barred approach to personal development. It's not this, this whole rah-rah, go get in a cave and come out 6 months later with a clear understanding of who you are. I mean, this is an instant gratification society. People want answers, and they want them now. And so the exercises that I created in the book really provides people with those instant answers. And the crux of the book is in an exercise that I created, which is called the 7 Seeds of Your Soul. And in that exercise, you really do come out the other side with a really clear understanding of what your what is. And that whole process takes about 15 minutes. So it's, we're not talking days, we're not talking months. I mean, this is a 15-minute exercise.
Okay, good. And so with the remaining time, can you tell us a bit about the, reinvention workshop? And
sure.
What exactly
so the reinvention workshop is the really powerful one-day seminar that I teach here in Chicago. And it gets participants really just fired up and clear on who they are, why they do what they do, and most importantly, who they were born to be. And we really do create that step-by-step plan of action for bringing it to fruition. So what I've gone ahead and done here is, because there's only so many people that live in Chicago, is I put the workshop online. So if you go to the reinventionworkshop.com, now anyone, anywhere, anytime, any place can access the workshop and go through it at their own pace.
Okay. And so what exactly is reinvention radio? I know I've been on the show, your show too, and I enjoyed that interview too. But our audience might, would be interested in learning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So reinvention radio, I mean, it's really all about creating empowered leaders who are driven to make a monumental difference. And the idea here is there are so many interesting stories out there. I mean, you are you're the poster child for reinvention. I mean, you came to this country with $100 in your pocket, you worked your way up to a Harvard Ph.D. and an Army major. I mean, it's just such an incredible, inspiring story of reinvention. And so those are the types of stories that we try to bring to the listeners.
Yeah, and that you mentioned in the last segment about it's very important that what you don't like and what you like, right? And the reason I decided to study hard was because I didn't like doing the house chores. That was a kind of
sure.
So I was lucky to.
Look, sometimes, it's without getting too graphic here. I mean, sometimes your butt's got to be burning so much from that downward slide that you just can't take the pain anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. Is for you, it was very clear that that's not what you wanted to be doing, but you only were able to recognize that because you were doing it.
Yeah.
It took you to be there and doing it to understand that that's not what you wanted to be doing.
Right.
Too many people don't do things because they're just afraid to give something new a try, or they overanalyze things or they paralyze themselves. But ultimately, if you're not growing, you're dying. And as long as you're in motion, there's action. And when there's action, there's a reaction. And in that reaction, you can then really formulate your plan, moving forward. And so that's what you did. I mean, you could have sat there and sat on your laurels and just did nothing, but you obviously knew that wasn't an option for you. So, but you kept things in motion.
I mean, we can go on and talking all night long, and your talks are so interesting. But looks like we are running out of time, though.
Yeah.
And it's time to say goodbye to you. But could you share your website with our listeners once again?
Sure. So my personal website is steveolsher.com, SteveOlsher.com. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the Reinvention Workshop is online at thereinventionworkshop.com. And again, if people want to send me an email, steve@steveolsher.com. The first 5 that come in that want a copy of the book, I will be happy to send them Journey to You.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you so much, and look forward to hearing more wonderful success stories. So thank you, and bye.